Hi, Pearl.
Hey, is everything okay?
It is. I'm sorry. I am on the road right now. Like I'm in transit, and I just thought the Wi-Fi here would work better than it did.
Okay, I got you. I
Apologize.
understand. Yeah, I'm actually in transit too. I'm at a cultural center and the Wi-Fi was giving me problems too, so I can
Oh,
understand 100%. I was like, "Oh no, I hope
I
everything works
apologize.
out okay."
Yes, I'm not in my own home, but I'm happy we're on now, I think.
Okay, yes, we are. So, Nandi,
Gonna
welcome to
move.
an edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. This is a platform that's sponsored by a lady named Pearl Foundation. So, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So, yes, Nandi, as you know, our nonprofit focuses on building confidence in girls and women through modeling leadership and entrepreneurship. So, this is our weekly platform where we interview different people in the modeling industry, whether it comes to models, fashion designers, stylists, photographers. So, students today, we have the amazing Nandi V, and she is a fashion stylist. And Nandi, I want to interview you because some of our students may be interested in being fashion stylists. And then as models, sometimes we have to style our own shoots. So we wanted to get your perspective from a fashion stylist, one year story, and then maybe too some tips that we can gather in terms of putting our looks together, not only for photo shoots, but when we step out, as models as well. So I have some questions prepared for you. So I want to start off with what inspired you to pursue a career in fashion styling? Like, how did you go about this path?
So for me, fashion styling came about in a very organic way. Um, my background actually is in human rights, specifically women's rights. And I just always loved fashion, but I hadn't studied it. And I never thought that, without a degree, I should be doing something in the fashion world. And one day at work, because I really just put a lot of thought into what I wore to work because I didn't want to wear boring things. Um, Colleagues asked me if I would, she pulled me aside one day and asked if I would help her put together a wardrobe for her vacation because she liked what I was wearing at the office and she wanted to know if I could help her feel a little better about herself since she was going on a vacation. And after that, things really just traveled by word of mouth. I would just let people know. I would just wear things that I liked into every room I went into after that point because I realized people were looking at the way I dressed, and that was translating to my confidence, and that was giving them an idea that I knew what I was doing with fashion. And from there, it just was very organic. I wouldn't even say it was a single moment or choice when I said, "Oh, I'm going to become a stylist." Just bit by bit, I started getting clients. And I think the turning point for me when I realized this could be, a career was um, seeing that there was a major transformation happening in the clients I was working with, and that they would set goals for themselves and they would uh, for example, a woman I was working with very early on, she wanted to start dating again, but she didn't like how her body looked. And after we put together a wardrobe for her, she felt much more confident about dating and about sharing herself with the world. And I won't say, I won't take credit for that, but I think I played a small part in the fact that she's now married with kids and feels, really happy about the way she looks and about her family and her relationship. And a lot of that stuff is confidence. So I, my background was in women's rights, and that kind of just translated into helping women feel really good about themselves through fashion over time.
No, that's awesome. I picked up a couple of things from that, Nandi. So, one, you didn't stay in the confines of what your environment dictated was appropriate to wear. You stepped out of that space and you just started putting on clothes that feels good to you, that feels good to your spirit. And in turn, your light began to shine bright and people were attracted to that freedom that you were
Yes.
offering, and then that attraction then secured, not secured, but I guess made people want to ask you, okay, how do you do this? How do you step outside of the norm and wear things that feel comfortable to you? Because I think in this world, a lot of us are in uniform,
Yes.
afraid to step out and wear what feels good to us and our soul because we don't want to stand out. And I think the biggest thing with fashion is that it's an extension of you, right? It's an extension of your spirit. And
Yeah.
when you wear that, when you're in alignment with that, that's when you really begin to shine. So is there any wrongs or rights? I mean, when you say it that way, it feels like there's no wrong or right
So there
to
are
it.
wrongs and rights. There
Yeah.
are wrongs and rights. For example, I was in a semi-corporate, nonprofit environment. Um, I chose to break out of conventional colors and some conventional shapes, but showing a lot of skin in that environment, for example, is still inappropriate. People would doubt your professionalism doing that there. So you do have to understand some of the expectations and values and requirements of where you're dressing for. Um, in the same vein, if you're going to a fashion and music event, or a film, TV screening, post event or party, that's not the best place to be totally buttoned up to because people want to see maybe a little more vibrant or sexier looks in those environments. So, but there's always kind of a line to walk. Unfortunately, I don't think there is one hard and fast rule. It just depends on the what where you're going to. The best advice I can give you on determining that is think about the people in the environment you're in who are really successful, who you look up to, and how are they dressing? Um, what kind of mood and aura are they giving off? And how is it being received? And that's a good sort of marker to begin your journey at, okay, so the person, when I go into this room and I observe, who kind of is doing really well in this crowd, or who has become a mentor for others in this room, or who's gained a lot of success in this arena, um, are they do they tend to wear more loud and bright and exciting and uh, risky looks? Is that what this crowd resonates with? Or am I in a space where, sort of elegance and poise and professionalism seem to be very valued? All of the values that are in an environment, we often express them and share them with one another first through what we're wearing, even without talking about it. And so just, the best advice I guess I have for people joining this live and figuring out what are those lines, what are the rules, is look at who's already doing it successfully and how are they doing it.
Awesome. So use the successful people as a benchmark and build from there.
Yes.
Okay, so when it comes to a lot of these models, right? So we talked about the overall styling, depending on what event you're going to, there are rules. There is a framework, a frame that you're working within. So when it comes to modeling, and I know this wasn't on the list of questions, but someone is working to build their portfolio, and I'm going to pull up maybe a model board.
Sure.
Nandi, and what are some advice you can give to models that are looking to start their portfolio? Because sometimes as a model, you may not have a lot of money. You get what I'm saying, to hire a stylist. So what are some tips
Sure.
that you can give a model to style their portfolio? And let me see if I can pull up Ursula Weidman's and let's see what her models look like. Maybe we can use that as a benchmark. Where are we? Right here. So, when it comes to, let's just click on a model and see. There are some staple pieces that sometimes they'll tell us to start with: jeans and a white tee, a simple dress, a cute sweater, different things like that. What are some tips that you can give models that may have a tight budget, but they are looking to build their portfolio?
Hmm, great question. I've thought about this from a styling as a stylist. I think for models, you know, a lot of people are looking for a model who makes whatever they wear look even better, right? So I can say when I see a book from a model, even like a starter portfolio where they have a diversity of looks and they present them all really well, um, instead of having your portfolio be a number of the same type of mood over and over again. I think it's really valuable to kind of diversify the kinds of looks that you're sharing. That way, anybody who's looking for a model for, a wide variety of things might call upon you or look to you, um, instead of, okay, so this model looks good only in this kind of mood because that's all I see from them, you know. Um, Another is know your body type and know your palette. So, you know, what looks great on you, Pearl, may not look great on the next person. What looks great on me may not look great even on my sister because we have different undertones in our skin. We have different features that are our best features. So when it comes to building your portfolio, I think a lot of models have to kind of style themselves early on, or they have to find people to collaborate with who expect them to know a little about themselves first because it's like a collaboration. Maybe they're not paying them. So I've had models come to me and say, "Oh, I'm building my book," at a time when I was also building my starter portfolio. And they would say, "Can we do something together? I don't have a budget." And I'd say, "Okay, then let's pull from the wardrobe you already have." And they'd say, "Okay, why don't you just come over and like pick something out of my closet?" But when I go over to their closet, a lot of their clothing is very ill-fitting. It's colors that are not very good for them, things that are too tight or too large. So, know yourself. Start to even build clothes in your own wardrobe that are flattering for you. And there's a lot of like quick information on the internet about where to start for that. Because then when you don't have a budget, you have things to pull from that are photographable, and that, really kind of still bring you forward without needing to cost a bunch of money.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned those things. So some of the things that everyone that's tuned in that Nandi is talking about: knowing your body type and what looks good on you, knowing what tones resonate with your skin tone. So I know we did have I'm trying to find it. There's different tones. Here it is: understanding your tones, because you have cool tones, neutral tones, warm tones, and those tones look good with certain colors. And then when Nandi was talking about body types, you have all of these different body types: the inverted triangle, the pear shape, all of these different things where clothes complement you differently. So as Nandi was saying, what looks good on me may not look good on her, and then vice versa. So how does one start to just dive in that? Is it just a matter of practice and matter of practice and trial and error, I would say,
So
right, Andy? And you can go ahead and keep
I
talking. I'm just
think,
mhm.
yeah, sure. Sorry, I think it glitched for a quick second, but we're back. You know, practice is everything with styling. Like you just develop your eye over time for yourself and for others. But a really important part of learning to dress yourself well or dress anybody well is to get out of the habit of comparing. That is the number one thing that I see holds people back when it comes to looking their best. You know, I can even say I have experienced a lot of that in my life. When I was growing up, my sister had an opposite body type to mine. So she was more of she has a straighter, leaner figure, and I had very curvy, kind of pear-shaped figure. I have that. And it always bothered me a lot that I couldn't, that the things that looked good on her didn't look good on me. And I spent so much of my life kind of wishing those things looked good on me and trying to make those things look good on me and trying to even, you know, work on parts of my body so certain types of things would look good on me. That is not how you're going to get to great style. You are going to get to great style by understanding your own unique beauty
Yes, I
and
hear you.
finding the clothes that complement it. Yes. So, the most critical step to me is, you know, when you are going to put something on, whether it's for a photo shoot, an event, or just your daily life, forget the idea that there's, you know, other beautiful people in the world. That will always be there. And you don't need to look like any of them. You need to look like the best version of yourself. And, you know, in terms of understanding your body type, you can, you know, using like the images that Pearl has in front of us, just, you know, look at the ratios of where your, for example, your shoulders to your waist to your hips are. And you can even take a picture of yourself and put a dot on each of those points. The largest points, you know, the widest points, and the smallest, uh, slimmest points, and just connect the lines. It'll quickly become visible to you which body shape you are. And based on that, one of the golden rules is whichever is the part that is, you know, leaner on you, uh, that tends to be the part you want to. Well, it depends what look you're going for. I don't even necessarily agree with this, but this is how a lot of people style. But you know, if you want to look balanced, you usually emphasize the leaner part and sort of blur the largest part. And so a lot of people think that the smallest part of you, well, let me, you know, create shape by using more fabric and more, creating more shape. For example, I have a pear shape, okay? So I used to think, okay, let me, you know, add a lot of bulk on top so that I can balance my hips, which are larger. But actually, what often is the case, it, you know, this isn't always 100% of the time, but maybe 80% of the time. Actually, the thing you wear the tighter clothing on is what will be emphasized. So it's better for me as a pear shape if I want to create a balanced top and bottom to wear a little bit tighter on the top and a little bit looser on the bottom. And my top gets emphasized. And that's a little of that is specific to my shape because of my ratios. But when I wear a really big, kind of boxy top and my bottom half is the largest part of me, I end up kind of just looking large everywhere and looking like a box everywhere. So some of this is, you know, subject to change. It really is it a dress? Is it this type of dress, this type of pant, etc. But uh, you don't create shape just by adding volume. You create shape by emphasizing things. So that's without going too far down that rabbit hole. That's
No,
me.
I know, right? That's kind of deep stuff, but it's about emphasizing and de-emphasizing certain areas to,
Yes,
you know, create the allure or the look that the shape that you're trying to go for. So
yes.
there was one other thing that you said. Oh, I wanted to mention to the models, there was one other thing Nandi said is not having the same look in your portfolio. So you want to make sure you have some commercial looks, some high fashion looks. So I just wanted to touch on that because just wanted to make sure I said something about that. So
Absolutely.
how do you stay updated with the latest fashion trends and incorporate them into your work?
So I read a lot and I watch a lot of fashion shows and runway recordings. Um, if you're really interested in being a stylist, you should make Vogue Runway, which is actually, they have an app you can download onto your phone. You can make that your bread and butter. So every season of new collections that Vogue uh, recognizes as legitimate, and there are a lot of small designers. They're keeping up with anybody who's anybody in the fashion world. Those designers and their collections are updated on Vogue Runway every every new season. Um, and I love that app because if there's a designer that you want to know better, or you want to think about pulling looks from past collections or whatever, you can, all of the looks from a designer are archived there on Vogue Runway. So that's an app I really recommend starting with. Other than that, so invest in your, if you really want to be a stylist, invest in yourself. Subscribe to magazines, fashion magazines. Um, Make sure you are reading the newest issues, whether that's online or the physical copies. I'm a kind of analog person, so I usually like the physical copy because I can make my notes and things. And if you, just like when you watch the news, if you watch enough news, you'll recognize trends about what's happening in politics around the world. It's just like that with fashion. If you watch enough of it, if you read enough of it, if you look at what celebrities are wearing on the red carpet and who said what about that, if you look at what the most prominent designers are doing, you will notice patterns of trends coming up. And there are a lot of people blogging about that stuff these days too. So it's not hard to figure it out. There's sometimes this idea that, only a certain niche of people know what trends are coming out of the fashion industry, really, but that's not true at all. If you just kind of read and expose yourself a lot, it's very easy to see. And then I try to incorporate it into my work um, as much as possible. I guess it depends on the project, but for example, a couple years ago, like maybe mid-pandemic, um, the the transparent, like naked nude dress really came into style. Now it's sort of been almost overdone, but I I noticed that trend was coming up, and I really liked it. Um, but it was a little risque for some of the clients I've been working with. So I took that trend and found ways to incorporate it without, you know, my clients actually being nude under like a totally sheer dress. For example, adding a bandeau, adding an interesting shorts under it, adding layers so that, so you can take a trend and riff off of it. You don't have to literally take every trend and use it just the way you first see it.
Okay. No, awesome. Definitely. Making alterations on that trend because again, based on your body type or whatever it may be, it may not be the best thing to wear it exactly how
Yes.
Beyonce's wearing it or Rihanna's wearing it or whoever. So Nandi, you styled my latest video slaying. So let's pull some looks from there. And
Sure.
I want to hear, why you made certain styling choices on, this video. And so you all, Nandi styled this. This is one of the looks that she came up with. This is me in the bathtub. Nandi, maybe I should let you take it away. Some of the things that we did. And when I tell you Nandi worked hard on this shoot, let's talk about this first look. I don't have the pictures, I only have the video, so I'm kind of stopping in between so
Okay.
yes.
No
So what
problem.
was the idea behind this one?
Yeah, for this one, um, if I recall, something that was really important to you for this music video, and of course it's in the title, is Slay. We wanted some kind of unconventional, bold, you know, sort of uh maybe powerful is the word, looks. We really wanted to bring forward that fierce part of you, Pearl. And so I remember you talking about this scene, and when you think of a bathtub and like self-care, it often is depicted in a very kind of soft way where that kind of fierceness maybe disappears, but it was important to us to keep that. And so, we knew this palette was going to be with whites, maybe some neutrals, and so I think, it just was a nice moment to get creative and think, well, your name is literally Pearl. Pearls are such a kind of precious and rare thing. And so, how do we make you fierce even though you're in the self-care mode? And so, then there was that beautiful, pearl top piece that you're wearing. I don't, I guess you can't see it in full here, but it's her entire top is like made of pearls and it has layers. Yeah. And so the thinking here was, okay, when you're in the bathtub, typically one isn't wearing much, but how about we have you not with any really garments, but only with pearls? And so I think it's really funny because if I'm asked to articulate why we did a visual, it's sometimes quite difficult for me. I can show you better than I can tell you, honestly. And so the visual itself is really the best explanation for it. But I think the fierceness was totally there. It's like even when you're relaxing in a bathtub, you're still Pearl. You're still that, very rare, fierce, confident version of you. And so we just had as many pros as we could. Um, I think some of the others on set had gotten, some of your other assistants had gotten strings of pearls. And so I had taken them and draped them around the bathtub so we could just have as much of that incorporated. And I really like how these shots turned out.
Yes. And then this is another look. Unfortunately, I'm not standing. Okay, this is the second look.
I love this look. Yeah, so
And then
want to
this,
say something, Pro?
well, yeah. Well, the second look, actually we went to, I can't remember what the name of the place is, but this
It's the
is
Ivy Showroom.
the what is it called? The
It's
Ivy?
called the Ivy Showroom.
The Ivy showroom. So what Nandi did is she took a top and she inverted it. And the actual those ruffles are actually something that's supposed to be on the back towards the bottom of the shirt. So she literally took the top and turned it around and inverted it. And then the bangles that I have on are Indian bangles. And then I also have on like a Michael Jackson one sleeve type of look. So, it was a really
Mhm.
cool, fresh, modern lady sleigh type of look that she gave with that one. And then with this third look, she styled me as kind of like a modern bad ASS professor teacher kind of feel. Is like teachers usually will have on a suit or professors will usually have on a suit, but this one was a more modernized suit. And it also gave style and luxury, as you can see with the what would we call that material on the cuffs?
Um, with
You
the
know,
fluffy,
yeah, the
the
fluffy.
fringe that's there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it gave a professor that
I
was,
think it might have been made of like feathers. I don't even remember.
feathers. That's what I
Um,
think it is, made of feathers. So just gave me a more modernized professor look. So yeah, you all Nandi styled this shoot. So what I want to close out with is how does it because some students may want to become fashion stylists. So we will close out after this question. So we learned, how to style yourself based on shape and tones. And also for your portfolio, you don't want to keep the same look. You want to diversify, and that there is framework in terms of your everyday styling, depending on what location and what type of event you're going on. And then you saw some of her work with my video shoot. So how is it working on set as a fashion stylist? What would you recommend? Like, what are some tips that you would give someone to be a great fashion stylist on set? What does that take?
Mm. I think it takes a lot of different things, but my top three are probably one, be prepared. Be prepared for something to go wrong. Be prepared for something to break. Like, have your styling kit ready. Bring your scissors, bring your extra needle and thread, bring your lint remover, bring your own portable steamer, bring your hangers in case there's nowhere to hang things. A lot of people show up on set and think, oh, things are going to be ready for us to work. And that's often not the case. You often walk into empty rooms and you need to make it happen. So be prepared. Think about how the shoot is going to go in advance. Preparation changes everything. Know how the looks already look on your models in advance. Do not, wing it on the day of the shoot. Know the style of the photographer you're working with. Make sure your model already knows their angles, or if they don't, be ready to come there and help walk them through that on set. That's the first thing. Be prepared. I've never felt I was too prepared. I have felt I was not prepared enough. So be prepared. The second thing is, you know, listen to the person who is modeling the clothes. They are still a human. They feel good or terrible in clothes just like any human being does. And so if you think you're just going to go somewhere, put the clothes on, is just going to look fabulous no matter what, that's not really how it works. Someone typically needs to feel good in what they're wearing for that on-set energy to like come out of them. And they're also affected by, whether it's too hot in the room, whether people are speaking kindly to them, whether they're uncomfortable or comfortable in what they're wearing. And so making the model feel great and feel comfortable and being really like a friend with them on set, it changes the energy and it improves the quality of the product you get every time. That is like a promise.
Mhm.
The last is there's so many. I'm like, okay, I'm only supposed to choose three. Because I said I would only choose three. The last is pay attention to detail.
Mhm.
Um, there are a lot of shoots I've been on where the shot was almost really good, but then the model's collar was like this,
Mhm.
and then then the photographer didn't want to use that photo because there was one thing, or there was a hair like across their face. But it was like the best shot, and it wasn't something that could easily be edited out. When you're on set, your job is to make sure that you're one of probably the few people looking at those details. You know, be ready to say, excuse me, can I jump in and fix this hemline so that you can get this shot? And be polite while you do it, but
Mhm.
be assertive enough to fix it, because a lot of people don't notice that. Maybe the photographer or model won't notice that while they're doing their job, but that's your job. And um, and that's the only job that you're getting paid to do and required to do well. So the three were uh, be prepared, um, treat the models well and bring good energy, and be detail oriented and do your job on set.
I think those are great, Nandi. I think those are some great tips. Do you all have any questions? I know this is supposed to be interactive, and I'm looking at the chat board to see if I can see any questions coming in. So if you all have any questions, just type them in the chat for me. Hey, Kendall, I see you. Amira, I see you. So you all, if you have any questions for Nandi, just go ahead and type them in the chat room. This is a fashion stylist. So she was talking from a fashion stylist perspective. Maybe some of you want to become fashion stylists, but also when she was talking about the things as a fashion stylist, it rang true as a model. You want to know your angles before you get to the shoot. And that means practicing your posing. And we're going to go through that, in our posing class. You also you want to fit your clothes, whether you're styling yourself or you're working with a stylist prior to going to the shoot, because you don't want the day of the shoot where you're having to worry about that. So I'm glad Nandi brought those things up. And I get pissed off when I see a shot and something is off. So I know 100% when Nandi is
So
saying
do
that,
I.
it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't anybody notice this? So if you can't afford a fashion stylist, maybe it's good to just have a second pair of eyes on set for you, just to, help you with those things as a model when you're just starting out. So Nandi, I want to thank you for coming on to this edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. It was some amazing information that you gave us. So if anyone wants to follow you that's watching this platform, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram. That's the best place. My handle is at Nandi_V. That's just at NANDI_V.
All right, thank you so much. And students, we'll see you tomorrow to come on for Leading Ladies. We'll have a graphic designer. And then next week on Model Talk Tuesdays, we will have fashion model Joanna James. Nandi, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you,
on during
Pearl.
your travels. You get what I'm saying? Making time
Sure.
for us. We greatly appreciate you, and we'll be sharing this on our platform. So thank you and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. And students that are watching and audience, you all have a wonderful Tuesday as well.
Thanks so much, Pearl. I appreciate you.
Yes. All right. Blessings.
Bye.
Bye-bye.